Is this the dagger?
G'day guys, JB here, back with another edition of Legends Profile. As I mentioned, trying to get a bit more activity back onto the channel in the off season, trying to get a few Legends Profiles out, and of course updating my top 50 greatest players of all time list. It's quite an arduous task, looking to expand it a bit more, change the formatting up a little bit, and just overall improve that one there. But plenty of Legends Profiles to get through, plenty of other content that should keep everybody up and about and entertained in the off season. Of course, just a change of work environment and a few other things that have, been the cause for this adjustment. But there is no doubt that the regular content throughout the regular season and the postseason will be there. But of course, we've been a little stagnant since the completion of the NBA Finals. Of course, last week's edition was the great Bobby Jones. Before him, we'd had Bob Dandridge, Nate Thurmond, Sam Jones, Paul Arizin, Dwight Howard, Ben Wallace, Dennis Rodman, Kevin McHale, and Dennis Johnson. And this week we will be taking a look at Sidney Moncrief, of course the inaugural winner of the NBA Defensive Player of the Year, back-to-back winner of that award, and a really unsung player of his generation, and certainly one of the unsung players throughout history, not only on an all-time scale, but certainly at the shooting guard position, quite often overlooked purely in the sense of that he played in an era that consisted of Michael Jordan and Clyde Drexler. So let's get into it. Let's have a look back at the legendary career of Sidney Moncrief. In my mind, the most disrespected perimeter defender the game has seen, let's reflect at how the career of Sidney Moncrief stacks up against the rest of league history. He's a two-time Defensive Player of the Year, a one-time All-NBA first-team selection, a four-time All-NBA second-team selection, a four-time All-Defensive first-team selection, a one-time All-Defensive second-team selection, and a five-time All-Star selection. He finished top 10 in MVP voting 5 times and finished top 5 in MVP voting once. In the regular season, he played 767 games, averaging 30.2 minutes per game. He averaged 15.6 points, 4.7 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 1.2 steals, and 0.3 blocks on 2 turnovers a game. He shot 50.2% from the field, he shot 28.4% from deep, and he shot 83.1% from the free throw line. In the playoffs, he played 93 games, averaging 34.7 minutes per game. He averaged 16 points, 5 rebounds, 3.4 assists, 1.1 steals, and 0.4 blocks a game on 2.4 turnovers a game. He shot 47.5% from the field, 29.3% from deep, and 81.1% from the free throw line. Of all the elite defenders in NBA history, there may be no more disrespected out on the perimeter than the legendary Sidney Moncrief. The winner of the first 2 NBA Defensive Player of the Year awards, Moncrief was one of the truly elite two-way players in the 1980s, and is seldom mentioned among the bright lights thanks to the generational talents that transcended the boom period of the NBA. Star in a small market that preferred substance over style, Moncrief is one of many players that truly defined the play style of the 1980s. An offensive player that got his inside of a sound team system, and a defensive game that saw him squeeze the life out of his opponents en route to staking his claim as the best defensive shooting guard of all time, behind Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Moncrief doesn't stand out on any all-time career leaderboards, but he remains one of the staple players of the Milwaukee Bucks throughout franchise history. At the time of writing, he remains third all-time in career win shares behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and still sits among some of the all-time franchise leaderboards. Moncrief remains top 3 all-time for the Bucks in games played, minutes played, free throws made, offensive rebounds, assists, steals, turnovers, offensive rating, both offensive and defensive win shares, and top 10 in shots made, shots taken, rebounds, points, triple-doubles, and player efficiency rating. A certified Bucks legend, there is a clear reason that Moncrief has his number retired by the franchise. Had it not been for Magic Johnson, Sidney Moncrief would have been a Laker, such was the high opinion of the legendary logo, Jerry West. Instead, Moncrief fell to the 5th pick in the draft, where the Milwaukee Bucks selected him. While the 1979 draft will always be known for the coin toss that sent Magic to the Lakers as the Showtime era began, It should also be noted as the draft saw the likes of Bill Cartwright, Vinnie Johnson, Calvin Natt, Jim Paxson, Bill Lambier, Greek legend Nikos Galis, James Donaldson and Mark Eaton join the league and go on to make an impact in one way, shape or form. Moncrief's first season saw him next to Marquis Johnson, Junior Bridgman and Bob Lanier as he learnt the ways of the league and the ways of a Milwaukee team that would see itself contending in the Eastern Conference for the better part of the decade. However, that would have to wait a season as the Bucks completed their final year in the Western Conference before a reshuffle saw them head east. Moncrief may have only averaged 8.5 points in that first season, but showed plenty of signs that he would grow into the perennial All-Star and All-League defender he became. While his limited minutes prevented him from showing his full arsenal, the games he was given opportunity to play were a testament to the high faith that Jerry West had in him before the draft. In his 12 games playing at least 30 minutes, Moncrief posted averages of 14.3 points, 6.7 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 1.3 steals, 0.2 blocks and 2.2 turnovers, all while shooting 47.4% from the floor and 79% from the foul line. This included season highs for points against Phoenix, rebounds against Indiana, and assists against Utah. With increased minutes in the playoffs, his production also rose. From 20 minutes to 26 minutes, Moncrief saw his scoring and its efficiency rise in what was a tough battle with the defending champion Seattle Supersonics in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. The Bucks looked set to advance with a 2-1 and 3-2 lead, but were eliminated in 7 games. With increased minutes came increased production, which in turn saw greater results for the Bucks. Delivering a 60-22 season, Milwaukee finished with their best non-Kareem season ever, which has only been matched since by the Bucks of 2018-19, in which Giannis Antetokounmpo won his first MVP. Finishing as the third best team in the league, with Moncrief leading the charge on the defensive end, finishing third highest among 23 teams. The Bucks were bundled out the now Eastern Conference semi-finals in 7 games by the Philadelphia 76ers and the league MVP, Julius Erving, by just a single point. Throughout the year, Moncrief displayed the defensive prowess that was soon to earn him recognition across the league, as well as the beginning of an all-star run that all but solidified his place amongst the best players of his era. In the 37 games he scored at least 15 points, the Bucks went 31-6, showing his ability to lead the team from the front and have a positive impact on their results. In some key matchups throughout the season, there were plenty of players who struggled thanks to the impact of Moncrief on the defensive end. Rudy Tomjanovich went 4 of 13, Kevin Greavy went 1 of 10, Randy Smith went 4 of 10, Reggie Theus went 2 for 7, Norm Nixon went 8 for 20, David Thompson and Alex English went a combined 11 for 29, George Gervin went 6 for 16, Maurice Cheeks went 1 for 3, Tiny Archibald went 6 for 18, and Dennis Johnson went 9 for 23. These were all winning games for Milwaukee. By his third season, Moncrief had assumed leadership of the team and cemented himself as one of the best two-way players in the NBA. This would begin 5 straight seasons of All-Star, All-NBA and All-Defensive selections, and a continued run of success and easy transition for Milwaukee as a whole. From 1981-82 to 1985-86, Moncrief would average 21 points, 5.8 rebounds, 4.7 assists, 1.5 steals, and 0.3 blocks a game while shooting 50.3% from the field, 27.5% from deep, and 83.6% from the foul line. Or to keep it simple, a rounded 21, 6 and 5 on 50%. When you look across the history of the game and the all-star runs that players in the Hall of Fame have produced, Moncrief ranks right alongside the likes of Mitch Richmond, a rounded 24, 4 and 4 on 45% in his all-star years, and Ray Allen, a rounded 21, 4 and 4 on 46% between his first and last all-star game. And also compares to the likes of Joe Johnson, a rounded 20 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists on 45% from his first to last all-star appearance, and Klay Thompson, a rounded 22, 4 and 2 on 47% as an all-star during the Warriors' 5-year finals run. With the introduction of the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year award in 1982-83, Moncrief was selected as the inaugural winner. Not satisfied with just one award, he would repeat in 1983-84 and remains the only guard to win the award multiple times, let alone consecutively. While there is a case to be made during these 2 seasons that the likes of Bobby Jones, Michael Cooper, Tree Rollins, Maurice Cheeks, Mark Eaton and Dennis Johnson would have been as good if not better selections, the energy he displayed on both sides of the ball as well as the leading focus of his team more than tipped the scales in his favour. For some further idea on Moncrief's 5-year run, here are the players throughout history that have delivered 5 straight seasons making an All-Star game, an All-NBA team and an all-defensive team, whilst capturing a major individual award in that time period, such as the MVP, Finals MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, All-Star MVP, Rookie of the Year, and Sixth Man. John Havlicek, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dwight Howard, Ben Wallace, LeBron James, David Robinson, Michael Jordan, Gary Payton, Scottie Pippen, Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett, and Sidney Moncrief. With the addition of Terry Cummings to the Bucks by 1984-85, Moncrief had the elite level of offensive player required to truly compete in the East against the likes of the rampaging Boston Celtics, the ever-consistent Philadelphia 76ers, and the rising Detroit Pistons and Chicago Bulls. With 3 straight seasons of 59, 57, and 50 wins, Moncrief would lead the Bucks into the second round twice and the conference finals once, only to be outplayed by both Boston and Philadelphia. Known as one of the most consistent teams of the decade, the Milwaukee Bucks of the 1980s, under the leadership of Sidney Moncrief, are arguably the best team of the decade to never win a championship. Moncrief called time in his career following the 1989 playoffs and will make a brief return for Atlanta in the 1990-91 season, but was certainly not the player that had been the heart and soul of Milwaukee, and at the time, the best player the franchise had seen, not named Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Despite his Bucks career winding down in 1989 and fully calling it a day after the 1991 playoffs, Moncrief would not see the Hall of Fame until 2019, 28 years after his playing days were over. While there are clearly players that deserve entry on their first ballot ahead of Moncrief, it is bewildering that it took almost 3 decades after his career for him to take his rightful place.